Some of you might like to know a little bit more about our drummer.
Now going back to 40 years of Chick Webb.
Is drummer right? Is it okay to say drummer?
Pounding his pulsing beat into the hearts of all America.
You motherfuckers are fucking all over this joint.
You do your kind of drumming, and I'll do my kind of drumming.
I have no more time. You don't know what I love again.
The only things I care about in this goddamn life are me and my drums and you.
The official explanation was he choked on vomit.
You suppose maybe I could put the drums in your place and sort of drop in once in a while?
Now back to Gene Krupa's syncopated style shortly.
Get up there behind those drums, lean back, close your eyes, get right in the groove there, give it a good steady beat.
I got blisters on my fingers!
I'd hit that.
I'm in New York City with Mark Guiliana. Mark, thanks for doing this, man.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you.
So we were just talking. We're in a park. We were walking over here talking about one of your gigs. You were saying with your girl. If you talk about that, please.
Yeah, her name's Gretchen Parlato. She's an amazing singer, and I've played with her on and off for the last 4 years or so. She plays with the band is always great. It's kind of a rotating cast of guys, and the drummers who have all shared that chair are incredible, and it's great company to be a part of. So so we play often. And then I was also saying last weekend I had a very different gig with this guy Brad Meldau. Great.
Who you've played with before.
I have, yeah, and now this we have this duo project called Guiliana, and it's what's unique about that project is that he's not playing any acoustic piano; it's all keyboards, and that's the first time that people are hearing him do that, and the first time for him to do that. So it's really exciting new ground, and he's one of my favorite musicians long before I even met him or had played with him. So it's incredibly humbling and, endless inspiration every night to be able to create with him, and the fact that it's a duo really makes the range of expression much wider, because the gig revolves around just being present and listening, and so it's really exciting how quickly we can change gears just by listening and being inside the music and trying not to have expectations of what happened the night before. It's because it's very open. The gig initially started as being completely improvised. So that, how can you have expectations? You just start from scratch and go, and there's incredible amounts of trust and
would it be get on stage, he pulls out a riff, or you pull out a groove literally and just go?
It would be, we're about to start, and it would be, why don't you start? So that, and then truly giving ourselves to the moment. And, that's scary, but also there's no more satisfying feeling than that. And it's, it's really easy to, that's how the gig started. And now we have kind of shaped some quote-unquote songs, kind of Brad composed some stems, maybe 4 8-bar things or certain chord progressions that we refer to. So now we can have a set list of ideas, but it's still very, very open, and it's different every night. So it's really exciting. And what I love is, to have these two gigs next to each other. Within Gretchen's music, I am the drummer, and my job is to support the music and make her sound great, help her sound great. And really, I could say that about Guiliana as well, but my role is much more interactive, and I'm more responsible for creating content.
Right.
And I love both of those roles equally. I think, sometimes I complain, like, oh, I wish I could play with my band more, and I'm busy. I'm grateful to be playing with who I'm playing with, but it keeps me busy, and maybe, that dream of, what if I could just sit home and work on my music, And that's true. I do kind of wish that sometimes, but the satisfaction and high I get from being a sideman in a really musical environment is invaluable and something I'll always need. That balance of it's, in a way it's most fulfilling to present my own music and say, this is me, and it's not just these notes I'm playing on the drums, this is my melody and this is my concept and all these things. But, to be in a strong musical situation and to be able to give the music what it needs and do anything I can to give love to the music, then, that's that's why I do what I do. It's incredibly fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about being the sideman gig, or just the sideman role, let's call it, are there gigs that you look at and think, well, I wish I could get a crack at that. Like maybe they don't see me that way, but I wish I would like them to see me that way,
No, actually, because I've come to the peace with the idea of I can't expect anyone, in regards to the listener, I think, it's unfair to have high expectations from a listener. If someone hears me play, say I say yes to a really mellow singer-songwriter gig.
Right.
And, and it's at 11 p.m. at some little place in the city, Rockwood Music Hall, and I'm just the guy up there. If someone seeing me play for the first time doesn't know who I am, they think that's how I play drums. That's who I am. And they're right. Because a first impression is all they have. That experience is all they have to base who I am off of. So, but that moment, they can't, I don't expect them to go home.
Yeah.
I don't expect them to go home and say, what else does this guy do? You mean
if you're just laying pocket and just keep
playing brushes,
right? Just supporting the music,
super supportive, which I would be proud to do. I would be proud of someone painting that picture of me, like, wow, he was an incredibly supportive musical drummer.
But
great.
But don't you think there's the other side too? Excuse me. If Vinny played on a Megadeth record, maybe that's someone's first exposure to Vinny.
That's
perhaps
Vinny.
You know what I mean. Maybe that's the first time they ever, and they think that's Vinny, right? But it's not Vinny.
But he made a decision. See, this is what I think, and this is what helps me decide what gigs to do and what not to do. He made that decision.
Yep.
So he can't have those expectations that someone is going to say, what else does Megadeth's drummer do?
Right.
He plays with Megadeth, So you and I know the big picture, but I think this is where the proactivity comes into play. I'm the only one in control of who I can tell people who I am, of what do I want people to think of me as. It's up to me. So if you don't want to be maybe misconstrued as the guy who plays with Megadeth, say no. It's that simple. Don't put yourself in that position. I think, it's not you don't have the luxury of, when I play that singer-songwriter gig, I can't go up to everyone in the crowd after the gig and say, thanks so much for coming. By the way, I also play with Brad Meldau, and I also have my own band, and you can go to this YouTube link. And I think it's easier to explore the big picture of someone with YouTube and with social media and things like that. But I can't expect anyone to do that homework.
Sure.
So it really helps me. It's like, hey, can you do this gig? And then it's that all of that thinking. It's like, because the other thing is, what if you do the gig that you're not really into, and then you do it well, and people hear you do it well, and more people are going to call you to do that. One of my first, quote unquote, big gigs was playing with this bass player, Avishai Cohen. It was right out of college, and he asked me to be in his band, and it was 6 years of touring, really intense touring, mostly in Europe. We made 6 records. I am incredibly proud of all of that music, and he really was the first guy to give me a shot. It's kind of like I went to college for 4 years, and then I went out with him for that time, and that was like another college. It was really, I learned the ropes big time, and he put a lot of faith in me. I listened back to the early stuff, and it's like, okay, he trusted me. Maybe not all of my decisions were terribly mature musically. I still stand by them. They're real, but it's like, oh, I can hear the youth in that part or in that performance, which I think added to the music. There's benefits to that spirit, but so his music, a gross generalization of his music is the gigs were mostly piano trio, so it's acoustic piano, acoustic bass, and drums. Beautiful music with lots of odd meters. So I stand by all of that material. I'm really proud of it. I would not be the musician I am today without his mentorship and that gig. But the catch-22 was I started getting called for all this difficult odd meter stuff, which is awesome, right? It's like, wow, that means they like what I do. Great. On the other hand, it's like, wait, just because I have that gig, that doesn't mean that's who I am. It's an important part of me, and I'm proud of it, but I have a lot of other shit to say. I can't expect them to assume that I have other things to say until I tell them. And how do I tell them? I write my own music, and I present my own music in an uncompromised way to say, this is who I am. So I think to full circle, generalizations and people label you as the gig that you do, or so it's like, okay, even if whenever I have the opportunity in a very non-hustling way, I do my best to introduce them to the music that I really stand by and that I think represents the way my brain sounds, and I don't think about drums, when I'm making music. I'm thinking about the music. So the thing is, as a sideman, your responsibility is to play the drums and play someone else's music. So by nature, it can get a lot, sometimes if the music allows for busier stuff, it can, get a little more drumistic.
That works. That works. Drumistic.
Terrible. But when it's my own music, the last thing I'm thinking about is the drums. It's much more meta and big picture of like, what does this sound like? What is the energy that is being conveyed? What's the what vibrations are in this room that I can react to? It's like, and I end up I never play a drum solo on my own gig. I play probably 30% the amount of notes that maybe I play on like some other kind of jazz sideman gigs. And they're both equally me, you know. I think I don't want to hear myself play a drum solo. If someone asks me to do it, great, and I will give that my all. I will absolutely dive in, and again, from within the music. I never want to just step on it but you know, hey, and so here's this tune, we'll do, and then on the outro, Mark, why don't you kind of blow over the outro? Okay, yeah, absolutely. It's your music. If you hear that, and then I will. Then it's kind of careful what you wish for. And then it's like, okay, well, you know, that's what you want. Maybe I'll even exploit that moment because I don't do it in my own music, you know. So, again, it's always that leader sideman balance, and I think maybe if I wasn't a sideman at all, maybe I would have an itch to play some solos in my own music. But that's the last thing I'm thinking about because I'm being able to express myself in that way in many other situations.
True. But this is an interesting point you bring up because I like the way you're talking about big picture, thinking big, not just the tomorrow and the next day. Like, what's the body of work? And what I'm saying is, it's like Steve Jordan out with Eric Clapton right now. Could you see yourself at, I don't know, 40, 45, 50, doing something like that at some point? Maybe just out of also the idea of, hey, haven't done that yet. You know, like just that attitude almost. Like, I'd like to try that, haven't done that one yet. Do you see that in your future?
Yeah, I mean, I like that. For me, the thing that is least attractive about those kinds of things is the commitment just in regards to the calendar.
Right. Because it's a year, let's say.
I can't do that. I want to have a family. I want to be an active member of my family. I want to, you know. So it's, I'm a little, that kind of gives me some anxiety, the idea of being gone for really big chunks. In a musical sense, of course, that would be really fun. I think, like, you know, I'm attracted to really strong musicianship, and that's what gets me before maybe the specific genre would get me, you know. So Eric Clapton is the best at what he does, you know, so yeah, you know, but also, you know, I have this, I think Brad is a good example, and it's like, knock on wood or thank the universe of, I don't know how this happened, but, you know, Brad Meldau is someone I always admired and looked up to. And then naturally it's like, yeah, it'd be great to play with him one day. However, you know, I thought that in passing, but then I also thought, like, well, I don't want to be in his trio, Larry Grenadier on bass, Jeff Ballard on drums, because then it's not the trio that I love. I hold them so high that if I step in, wait, this isn't what I fell in love with. You know, it's... So, in my mind, I kind of had this fantasy of, wow, it would be great to play music with Brad in an environment that doesn't exist yet. And that's actually what happened. We're in this duo where he's playing keyboards, and we're kind of on this common ground of some of my electronic influences combined with all his, you know, natural influences and musicianship. So it kind of, and it happened really patiently, very, very patiently, with no hustle at all. It just kind of fell into it. And that's like the dream thing. So
did you put it out there at all, do you think? I mean, even as you were saying, you thought to yourself, hey, it'd be great to be able to play with Brad one day. Did you think you did, though, sort of put that out there in a sense?
I think into the world, I'm not a very, like new agey guy, but I did I mean, if anything, I'm a shy person, and I think that has actually helped me in the business.
Why?
Because I never have any words that I need to live up to, because I'm not giving words. So it's strictly
actions,
because I'm too shy to use the words. Like, hey man, we should play together. I wouldn't say that to someone I really admire, Maybe it takes 4 years and they happen to hear a record I'm on.
So they have to approach you. Basically.
Well, not have to, but
is that kind of the way it works? Like Brad said to you, hey, let's do something?
Well, really, it's the way his career and life is built. He's not a guy I can call up and be like, hey man, so I booked us a couple gigs, and he's like, yeah, actually I have the next 18 months of my life planned out with this, so by nature it had to be his call. But I think it's just
that shyness you were saying helps you. You're saying
lack of hustle. I'm turned off by hustle.
Gotcha. You're saying you think that's an attraction. That's part of the attraction is, hey,
in conjunction
Mark's
with,
not out there every night like, hey man, here's my card,
in conjunction with like lots of hard work and dedication to the thing.
Exactly. Talent to back it up. There it is. It speaks for itself.
Yeah, and I think all I can do is try to be quote unquote ready, whatever that means, and available. Mm-hmm. That's all I can do. I can't ask Brad Meldau to start a band. But when he says, hey, it'd be cool to, maybe play, I'd be like, yes. How about this day?
Right.
And then, so that's the availability, and then whatever ready might mean, when we get in the same room, what happens?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of faith in like believing in your own decisions, and why did I turn down this gig, or this doesn't feel right to take this tour, and then you stay home and an incredible opportunity happens.
Right.
Some kind of subtly karmic, just trying to make honest decisions. And I've had enough examples of like positive consequences of some scary decisions where I believe that it's like, okay, that was a hard decision to make, and it led to great things.
Trust your gut.
There you go.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, that's. By the way, does I don't mean does this make you uncomfortable? Does interviewing? You were mentioning the shyness. Does it?
No. Because I believe in what I believe. Mm-hmm. So when asked, I'm happy to share, but I might not just share. I'm not going to go up to a dude on the subway and be like, hey, this is what I think about dynamics. We could talk about playing, the right topics I'm extremely passionate about,
You just mean shy in the sense, again, of approaching.
Yeah, the instigation of something.
Sure.
And I think it's more about putting yourself... I'm not shy to be in the room with somebody, but I might not go up to them.
Right. With you and your girlfriend, who approached you first?
She extended a little olive branch, but yeah.
So there
it's
you
hard
go.
to say, but that's different because we had a business relationship that I really...
You met through that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we had an incredible friendship, still have an incredible friendship, but I had this, I just assumed that, something would happen, and then that would ruin the friendship and ruin the business relationship. So I had so much respect for what we had already built that I was afraid to ruin that. Anyway.
Had you been there before?
No.
And that's it, you hadn't?
No.
Okay.
No.
But you'd seen it.
Yeah.
And you'd seen it go bad. And
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, and I really appreciated the friendship. So I didn't think it was, it was worth. I didn't want to lose that. It ended up we're getting married in 6 weeks, so.
6 weeks.
There you go.
Congratulations. Where are you getting married, if I may ask?
Jersey Shore.
Now, you are from Jersey.
Yeah.
By the way, are you and your girlfriend's from East Coast?
No, she's from LA.
Well, I understand these things.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to stay out here in New York? Is that?
Yeah.
Are you as New York as Woody Allen?
No.
You could see yourself leaving?
I mean, no.
Are you a lifer?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open. I can't see it, but
Like, where else in the world where would be number 2 for you?
That's an interesting question. I'm a suburb guy. I think the next step will be a suburb. So I don't know what suburb, because
Gotcha.
that's how I grew up, with a yard and a driveway and a house, and my parents were they're retired now, but we're both teachers. A really kind of simple, quote unquote normal life, and but afforded me so many possibilities and an incredible foundation, and that's what I'd like to build.
You just don't know if you'd be like Westchester or Jersey. Is it like that kind of thing?
Or
it could be Long Island, could be.
Well, yeah, I don't think we'd go east, but yeah, maybe north or west. But even, who knows, maybe down the line, I wouldn't rule out, maybe a suburb of a different city. I mean, I can't see that, but maybe. I don't want to commit that to the record, ruling anything out.
Pikesville, Maryland.
Not there. Yeah. But,
Now, growing up, though, how far is that from the city where you're from?
I grew up in Florham Park. It's like 30 miles west of
Florham
here.
Park. That rings. I don't know why. It'll come to me why I know Florham Park, but 30 miles. Okay.
Yeah.
So you take the train? Is that what you would do?
You could, or if you're driving and you get out of the Holland Tunnel, you drive 40 minutes due west.
But I mean, growing up, like, were you that
come
guy?
in.
Like,
No.
Were you coming in as a kid? And
I didn't start. I mean, in regards to music, I didn't start playing drums till I was 15. So that was like freshman year in high school.
Yeah.
So as a kid, all New York City meant was it was kind of an event to come to a Yankee game, or come to, it was like a field trip to a Broadway play or something. So New York wasn't really a part of my life, integrated part of my life.
But the Yankees were your team?
Yeah, Yankees, Mets. It's tricky. I'm a sports fanatic, but I'm not big on allegiance because...
it's smart.
Sometimes it gets in the way of the enjoyment of sports. So for me, I'd rather see a great game and have maybe the team I prefer. I'd rather have an incredible contest.
Yeah.
And have them lose, to be honest.
Yeah. Ninth inning
then,
heroics.
Yeah, I got to give it up to the storybook and the narrative of the whole thing. It's really I think, it's easy. I have a lot of musician friends who don't like sports, and they give me a hard time sometimes. And I have a lot who do like it, but it's easy to knock sports in the sense of kind of like the meathead fan drinking Coors Light, really kind of an ignorant fan, which, God bless them, they're important to the equation. But for me, it's like a poetic, that ninth inning 2-out home run is a movie.
Yeah.
Better than a movie, And I'm not gonna, throw my Coors Light bottle at the TV if it's not my team, Right. It's like, wow, that's amazing.
Those are the guys with money on the game. Let's be
honest.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
But do you also look at the correlations? I mean, do you think that way? Do you think, it's sort of like baseball, this music? I mean, do you do that in your own mind? I can give further if you need. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Well, the
here.
biggest difference is one of the maybe most fundamental aspect of sports is competition.
Well, yeah.
And that's,
Do you have a healthy sense of competition?
I don't. I'm like non-confrontational, and I understand it, but it's not really a part of my life, and that's why, especially in music, I think it needs to be absent in order to make good music. So I think that sports for me, I think about competition.
But what about the preparation? What about do you see it
okay,
that way?
the biggest absolute link, which is so inspiring to me, is another almost equally fundamental aspect of sports, is improvisation. You can call plays, you can do your best to cater the situation,
right.
but it's a never-ending series of action and reaction, and you can only prepare yourself so much to react in the proper way. And that, for me, my favorite aspect of music making is improvisation. That's what keeps me doing this. I'm very fortunate that pretty much every situation I'm involved in requires improvisation in some form or another. And like I said, specifically about the duo with Brad, it's such a high level of interaction and connectivity and all these things. So sports is that. I think the best athletes not only have put in the most work, both mentally and physically, but they're the ones who can, in the moment, react and give the moment what it needs the best. So 3 seconds left in the NBA Finals, Game 7, you're down by 1, coach calls a play, or maybe there's 12 seconds left. There's enough time to really formulate this play. Phil Jackson calls this play. Okay, Michael, you got it. We're clearing the floor. It's whatever, 94 NBA Finals, Okay, cool. Of course, everybody knows Michael's going to get the ball. That's the plan. Best player on the planet. He's going to shoot. The genius of him is not this ignorant, we are either going to win if I make it, or we are going to lose if I miss. It's like, hey, the moment is way bigger than whatever we can't control the moment. That's bigger than the plan. So inbounds pass, he gets double teamed, he tries to drive, help defense comes to him, hits John Paxson in the corner, they win. That is the genius of Michael Jordan, as much as his talent and all that stuff. So that's why in the moment of, you'd be like, yeah, this song's supposed to go like this, let's go here. Well, no, that you're injecting, fabricated preconceptions into the moment.
Right. And it's like running the drills, like you were saying. Like, you can rehearse and get yourself ready, but...
Exactly. You need to rely on your instincts and your intuition in the moment. And I think the only way to work on that is through just the experience of it. So I think what has made me a better musician, way more so than practicing, is just playing with other people. Because you can't predict mistakes and how you're going to recover from a mistake, or you can't predict, my monitor cut out halfway through the song, or my bass drum pedal broke. It's like when you're practicing, you're in this safe bubble, and that's good. It's the drills, and you're, another analogy I use is, I think it's in regards to in drumming, it's easy to practice something and then you just kind of use it the way you've practiced. It appears in the music in the same way you've practiced, which by definition, and some might call that a lick, like lick-based playing, which in some situations can be the right decision. But by definition, you are, again, injecting this musical idea which has already been created into a situation where things are being created in the moment. The chances of that being the most musical decision are slim. It's like a soccer player who's working on, he wants to really cut as hard as he can to the right in order to get to a ball, or you're running straight and then you want to cut to the right in a right angle, developing his pivot foot, all the muscles that he needs to stop and go, things like that. So
muscle memory.
So he's working on getting to the right. So now he's in the game, and the ball's right in front of him, but all he's worked on is going to the right. So is he going to go to the right and run away from the ball? Of course not. It's not. So, it's again, it's much more about the moment than the specific preparation. That's why, for me, the things that I think about and I work on are things that I can use every time I sit down. And sometimes students who come to me seem slightly disappointed before I really, expand on these things. But maybe they had the expectation if they want some like cool drum stuff. I have to start by being honest and say, well, what I work on is trying to play eighth notes in time. Still, I can play eighth notes with a metronome right now and hear how they can be improved. And then I work on playing quiet. And I work on trying to get a great sound. Like time, dynamics, sound, those things are forever. And those are things that I will need and can use every time I sit at the drums. So it takes a lot of faith in that kind of practicing. It's a much slower path, but for me, it's incredibly fulfilling when I feel development. So it's like, wow, my triplets today sound like they're in time. That's such a good feeling, and I still know I can improve them. I could be more relaxed. And when I go from triplets to 16th notes at quarter note equals 80, that felt good, and I felt like I was getting a good sound from the snare drum. And I'm going to go to my gig that night and have the confidence to make musical decisions, and be in the moment and trust my time, trust my sound, trust my dynamics. And then, that frees me up to think about concept and being creative and listening and all those things. So that's why I think, you can work on, the trick shots all you want, but what about your foul shot? Or what, it's not always the most fun preparation, but it's the most thorough,
It's funny. One of the things I always loved about the correlation, say, between specifically baseball and music is the idea. What is it? 162 games a year? Is it 160?
Yep.
Like, this idea of you've got to be good at when you blow a save. Let's say you're the closer or whatever. You come out. It's like the next day you got to be able to put that behind you.
Yep.
And just start fresh, which is big on the road or whatever you're doing. But
I agree, and also I think the psychology of losing can be really punishing, Yeah. But I also think there can be a cool way, like especially in sports. I remember specifically, what year was it? World Series, where Joe Carter hits the home run against the Phillies. He's on the Blue Jays. It's Mitch Williams, Mitch Wild Thing was pitching. Yeah. Joe Carter hits this home run to beat him, right? And Mitch Williams, I listen to this guy Dan Patrick.
Yeah, I know
his radio show every day. I'm obsessed with him, and he gets incredible guests and he has incredible insight. And I remember specifically he's spoken of Mitch Williams a couple times. Every time he comes on the show, he tells the story. So, it was, at that point, the cool thing about baseball is it's kind of one-on-one, pitcher batter, and then it's a team sport, but in those moments it's one-on-one. Joe Carter gets up, hits that home run, he beats him. Press conference afterwards, you just lost in the World Series, it's devastating. Mitch Williams gets to the mic, and they say, how can you describe yourself? It's like, how can this guy even speak right now? He's like, I gave him my best pitch and he beat me. done. He did his best. Joe Carter did his best on that day. His best wasn't enough, quote unquote. And I disagree and say that his best was enough. How can your best is your best? Your best, that definition, the definition of your best might change from day to day. Maybe you have the flu and your fastball is 88 instead of 94, you know? But it's still, as long as you're giving your best. And I really like that story of like, look, he beat me.
Totally.
He beat me. What can I say?
But see, that's what I was getting at. I could sense that you incorporate this way of thinking into your life. In other words, you just mentioned the fastball being a little slower, and it's like a lot of guys talk that way. They say, now that I'm getting older, it's like it's not about my fastball anymore. It's more about I've got to, I worked on my slider or whatever. I worked on my.
Yeah.
And it's just all a metaphor for.
Yeah.
But you seem like you've got that deep in you, like using the sports as a guide. Yeah,
and I think one thing I do love, another big thing that, like the sense of community, like sports is this, again, it's like, after 9/11, what was one of the most important events following 9/11? It was like the first game back at Shea Stadium. George Bush, like him or not, he comes and he throws out the first pitch in front of 50,000 people. It's like, wow, we're in this together, and even when it's like, for example, the Boston Marathon bombings, like just following that, it was, New York and Boston have a notorious rivalry. Immediately, outside Yankee Stadium, it was like NY Heart Boston. It's like, yeah, of course, So as much as the rivalries happen and, some like trash talk, it's like the sense of community, obviously within one city and within one team, the way you can rally around, and it's like, hey, let's go watch the game tonight. It's this sense of camaraderie. I think sometimes that's missing in music, Sometimes like big bands have that because they're so popular, and it's like, hey, let's go see.
We're gonna tailgate.
Let's go to the Foo Fighters concert tonight, and you're with 20,000 people, all there for the same reason, and your favorite song comes on and you high-five the dude next to you even though you don't know him. It's like Jeter hits a home run and you high-five the dude next to you. That's beautiful. I mean, so the sense of like, again, community and bringing people together, I wish that was a little more present in music sometimes. Sometimes it can get a little, well, whatever.
Now, was that you growing up though? I mean, were you deep into the sports and playing it as well at school? Were you?
Yeah, both of my brothers played Division I baseball.
Shit. And
yeah, they were amazing.
What positions?
And now center field and shortstop. They were kind of like all state in the paper every day. Really, really great.
And these are your older brothers?
2 older brothers. My oldest brother Brian is the head coach of NJIT, which is a school in Newark. They're Division I school. So I try to go to those games whenever I can.
Did you play as well?
I played through to high school, and then when I started playing music, although it was maybe a little late to start, right when I started, it was really intense. So it took over, so I stopped playing. But yeah,
Did you want to play baseball as well? Did you think you're following those?
I always loved it, but, admittedly, those were some really big shoes to fill, So I never, I always enjoyed it, but I didn't miss it when I stopped.
So that wasn't ever, was that a frustrating period ever for you? Like looking at your older brothers, like, damn it, they've got this talent to do this, and I wish I had what they had?
No, because they're 5 and 7 years older than me, so they always took care of me, and there was enough of a gap where I wasn't really in their shadow ever. But no, I mean, even I grew up going to their games. Every single game I'd be at. So just to be in that environment was really nice.
Yeah. Okay, so you started. I got you. Once you did it. You did it.
I was in
you
it.
Jumped in full. And did anyone see this coming?
No, including me.
Yeah. What were you listening to?
The guys that I first heard that inspired me to play, or what I wanted to play it was, So this was like 95. So it was essentially like MTV culture, white kid from the suburbs. So it was Nirvana and Chili Peppers and Pearl Jam, Green Day, stuff like that. So
playing along to that stuff?
Playing along.
Were you getting lessons?
I was getting lessons completely by chance. I was like, hey, I want to play drums. My parents were very supportive, always very supportive. Okay, so let's find the local teacher. The local teacher was Joe Bergamini. I don't know if you know him. He's, right now, he's heavily involved with Hudson Music and all of their releases. He's written a handful of books. Incredible, has done some incredible playing and incredible records. Still very active. He's doing some Broadway stuff now. Anyway, it's just by chance that the local guy happened to be this incredible teacher. He's the reason I got so into it and really, he built my foundation. So I was with him all through high school. He's 10 years older than me, so it's cool to think back that he was only 25, but had his stuff so together and gave me exactly what I needed. And we're good friends to this day, and I owe him,
But he was giving you like
everything.
technique.
It was really across the board,
and you took to it.
I wanted to go home and work on flam taps for whatever reason.
Don't you find that to be the true miracle?
Yeah,
really.
exactly.
Let's be honest.
Exactly.
Don't you think that's what really separates people?
Mm-hmm.
It's the guys early on who just can't get enough of those, Radamacues
But I must say that it's so much of it had to do with Joe and my respect for him and wanting to. It wasn't just like.
Did he show you something? That's an interesting point. Did he say? In other words, did you see a result? Did he sit down and he played and you just watched him and said, "Yeah, man"?
Sure, but I could do that with Chad Smith. I'd turn on MTV and the Give It Away video is on. It's like that guy,
Yeah.
But for Joe, it was much more practical and realistic. It's like this guy, because he grew up in the town next to me. And we share a high school. We went to the same high school 10 years apart. So it's like, wait, this guy is from the town next to me and he's doing it. It was real. Mm-hmm. It was real. And
look, he's making a living.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't about fame. It wasn't, oh, my drum teacher dresses cool, or it's like, I trust this guy. He's a good dude and he works really hard, and I'm gonna take his word as fact, and I'm gonna work hard.
Did you have bands in high school? Did you do?
Yeah. Rock bands, had a ton of fun, but also I also just joined every possible situation I could. So I was in marching band and the pit orchestra for the play and jazz band and concert band. I was just so hungry to get my hands on anything I could be a part of. I jumped in.
Now, what were you like in high school? Were you the kind of guy like you knew the jocks because you could?
Well, no, those are my best friends. Like I never acted like a jock, but I was a jock because I was playing all the sports, Right. So those are my guys. Right. Those are the,
And so your boys didn't play music?
No, not at all.
You were the only one of the group.
And I must, I've thought about this. It's like I think there's two elements that, they were on my side. I think drums are kind of cool, quote unquote cool, and I was good. I caught on quick. So they're like, whoa, Mark, it's not just this,
Right.
I was like playing in bands and it's like, hey guys, I'm playing a show tonight. You want to come? And it was like, oh, this is cool. And we might cover some song that they know and they're like, dude, I can't believe you played that Sublime song. That's amazing.
He could play Sublime.
Yeah, exactly. So there was just enough of that for them to be cool with it. And that was important to me. It's always been important to me to have non-musicians in my life because just for the balance,
Yeah. So you weren't hanging with that. That wasn't in your...
I mean, what do you mean?
Well, when you were that in high school, we're just
Yeah.
you weren't hanging with musicians.
Well, I was trying to. I mean, it was still, the suburban thing where it's like, yeah, I certainly hung out with all the other drummers in school and did that, but, not exclusively. And I kept a lot of it to myself. Like, I'd be 17 and tell my parents, like, all right, I'm going to go in the basement and practice. And they think I'm just like making some noise. And meanwhile, I'm like transcribing Roy Haynes records and trying to learn that stuff. So it wasn't important to me to share, like, I didn't need to share the details. It's like, hey, I really like drums. I'm going to go work on that.
So what made you do that? Did your teacher recommend it?
Well, when Joe exposed me to jazz, and my first introduction was Buddy Rich, which I thought was a great bridge because there was a lot of excitement coming from the drums, but it was still really supportive and musical and all this stuff. And that's what I was like, oh, jazz, that seems cool. And then it was the black hole of, like total tunnel vision. When I found Tony Williams and Max Roach, I mean, the laundry list, like the main guy, it was like Tony and Max Roach and Roy Haynes and Art Blakey, right away, and Elvin, Philly Joe, Kenny Clark. I mean, it's really, the endless. But one thing, my next teacher was the guy. So when I was a senior in high school, I started studying with John Riley. And so it was like, the way I see it now, retroactively looking back, it's like Joe built this foundation in, say, the sports analogy, more of the drills and the just, mechanics, but still not in a, robotic way, still infused with like musicianship and emotion, but really preparing me to start to be able to make my own decisions. I wasn't ready to make my own decisions. I needed him to really take me by the hand. By the time I started to study with John, I was, maybe a little, I had the tools to make my own decisions. And John Joe and John it's like I can't, they're the reason I'm playing music, period, playing drums and playing music. And with John, it was much more of a conceptual path because we didn't need to talk about a double stroke roll. I had that under my belt, which is also something I work on, along with playing eighth notes in time, still trying to get the double stroke roll happening. But really, it's like because I had those tools, it allowed us to speak more conceptually. And where that took me, John has this incredible, I've never experienced this with any other teacher in not just drums, in any school, where, talk about being in the moment, it felt like everything he gave me was truly for me. He was so in tune to my level and what I wanted, but balanced with what he knew I needed, which maybe I didn't know I wanted or needed. It's his intuition as a teacher is incredible. So it was kind of this chunk of time with Joe where I was just building the tools and really exploring, many different styles. And then with John, it could be more specific, and it was much more jazz oriented and much more conceptual. And I can't explain what made me want to go home and transcribe Roy Haynes, but I wanted to, so I did, and John gave me a lot more transcription projects, and that was, I always got a lot out of that, and it was really important. It was, transcription for me is more about getting it onto the page, and then from there it's open for interpretation. So it was never really my intention to play these 16 bars exactly the way Tony did, but it's to get it on the page and say, wow, why did he end his phrase on 4? Why did he end his phrase 1 beat early? And how did he get there? And what was he's improvising. He's reacting. So what else was happening? Oh, maybe Herbie played that thing a measure before, and then he wanted to build the tension. And then after 1, he didn't play anything until the end of 2. He's really wait, what's, when I was checking out the Chili Peppers, he's hitting crashes on 1. Why is Tony playing them? All these things. So, for me, when it's on the page, I really love the ability to analyze what's taken place, and then also from the page you could say, let me play this slower and see how it sounds. It sounds completely different. Or let me orchestrate this in a different way. Let me play the first 2 bars and then bars 7 and 8 and see what happens. Whoa, that's cool. And then before you know it, with a few innocent steps or manipulations, you're playing something that might not represent the original. I know where it's coming from, and I am not shy about my influences. I could, put on a record that I played on and say, all right, this came from this guy, this came from this guy. Maybe I've manipulated it to a point where it's unrecognizable, but I know the source,
right.
Right. And I think those ways, I think that's in my opinion, it's a highly musical way to take influence. It's tricky, especially in the YouTube era. You pop on and you see something, you're like, oh, I want that, and you work on it, and then you got it, and then before you know it, it's like it pops up the same way you took it in. You're like, wait, that's not me. I remember Iverson saying in his interview, he's like, sometimes you might play something and be like, wait, I didn't mean that. Right, because it's really easy to get into this hypnotic repetitive practicing, or sometimes, and not it's different for everybody, so not saying this is exactly what he was talking about, but the idea of peer pressure within drumming of oh, this guy can do that, I need some of that.
Yeah.
And then I really feel a saying that I think about a lot is it's kind of, it's basically careful what you wish for, but it's careful what you practice. Sometimes you might hear something and you're drawn to it and you're like, oh, I need that. And it's kind of based on fear that you don't have it, expectations that other people think you need to, all this kind of maybe unnecessary reasons why you should have it. And then you practice it, and then careful what you practice, because it's going to show up. It's going to appear in your playing, because it will. And then it comes out and you're like, wait, what? That's not me. That's the worst thing. I think that's one of the worst things that can happen. It's things coming out unintentionally. Yeah. It's one of my goals is to make all my musical statements just clearly and intentionally. And that's lifelong, that's forever. I don't want to play. A good friend of mine and a great drummer, Dan Crean, is in this band called Semi-Precious Weapons. They're in LA. We had this conversation. He's like, man, we were talking about intention. And he's like, you know what? I don't think I've ever heard you play a 1 on the bass drum and crash. 2, 3, 4, a 1. Go. He's like, that's crazy, because everybody does that. You just do it, right? It's a thing that you have, And I was like, well, first of all, I'm sure I have played it, but thank you. That's the highest compliment I could possibly ever receive, because I don't want to play anything out of habit. Again, getting back to my soapbox of the moment, if something comes out unintentionally, by definition, you're not in the moment, right? If you're not completely aware of, So, that doesn't mean that you can never play a 1. It means I believe you should make the decision to play a 1, right? As opposed to it just coming out. So Dan and I have talked a lot about that. And I love those kinds of conversations, because it doesn't mean it's wrong. Mm-hmm. It's not about the material. There's nothing wrong with a 1. What I think is wrong is if it just happens by accident.
Interesting. So does that mean everything you do is literally intentional in that moment, or if you sit down and start playing some kind of just a pocket groove, you're just starting to lay down something, are you thinking, or are you not thinking, and it's just happening?
Well, the answer to the question is everything I play intentional. Of course not, because that's the goal. Mm-hmm. And that goal is borderline unreachable. You're making so many decisions per second that it's really difficult to be so dialed that every single decision is intentional. But that is the goal. And my favorite goals are the ones that are virtually impossible, because those are the goals that keep me inspired and that keep me reaching for them. And also I think what happens when you really at least reach for that level of intention is that it's kind of implied that there's going to be some restraint involved and discipline, which I love. I love a lot of times, in some people's mind, they might think of improvising as like do whatever you want, and it's this free card to just rip. For me, improvising is more about, okay, how can I be like kind of compositional improvising, How can I create something that might even sound like I'm not improvising? Maybe it sounds like I'm playing a part, but I'm improvising. So that requires lots of discipline and lots of, focus. And then, again, getting back to restraint, it's like, okay, I'm not going to hit the crash on one just because. I've heard that a lot. I'm not going to hit the crash on one. You know what? I'm not even going to hit my crash. I am going to wait until I absolutely have to reach for that voice, and that the music needs that sound. Yeah. But until then, it's not a part of my life, right? Well, so when's the last time somebody hit the crash on one and you were like, whoa, that's cool? I can't remember the last time. But what if you're at a gig and you see someone in their setup, they have a crash, and they are not hitting it. It builds this tension, right? Yeah. Wait, why isn't he has a crash? It's right there. It's right in front of him. Why isn't he hitting that crash? And then some solo is developing and all this stuff, and then he hits the crash on one of the most epic peak of the set. Forget about a song or over the course of a set, it's like, oh my gosh, he just hit the crash on one and I got chills. How often can you say that? Aside from the intuition of knowing how special that one could be, it had a lot to do with the restraint of not hitting it until then, which is really hard. But I love that kind of compositional restraint, orchestrational restraint, even dynamics. I'm going to play quiet, and I'm going to make my quiet sound so full that it's not going to feel quiet, and then my medium is going to feel loud, and then my loud. You give yourself so much more room. Whatever you deliver, again, it's like, what do people think of you? Well, it's in your hands, right? Hey, this is me. And if you deliver this kind of palette that, let's call that zero, you're creating your own zero. If you come out of the gate ripping, what's left? Wow, that guy rips, and then, oh, he's not ripping, this sucks. It's like, whatever you create and present as your zero, like, I love giving myself a lot of room in regards to the amount of notes I'm playing or the volume at which I'm playing and the sounds and those things. It's much easier to
have somewhere to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Where were you? When was the moment for you where you crystallized? You saw it, right? You saw what you wanted to do, what you wanted to say, who you are today, the style, all of that. I feel like Larry King. When did Mark?
Right.
When did that moment happen?
Yeah, I don't know. And also I think what keeps me inspired and keeps me focused is the humility of not knowing and the vulnerability of not knowing. And because I definitely can't say like and it's beautiful for the people who can say this confidently, but I certainly can't say I was put here to play drums. I was put on this earth to do what I'm doing. I think so far I've been really lucky that I found music and found drums, and that's when I'm making music, it's when I'm my happiest. So I'm gonna continue to do so. And I'm gonna continue to work really hard. Like, it wasn't an accident. A lot of it came from the work and dedication. So I plan on continuing that, you know, but really the humility of like, I think I've made the right decision. I think, because the other way around, there's incredible pressure. Like, I've been put here to play drums, and then what if I wake up one day and I don't want to play drums? You know? So even if it's just for that day, it's like, wait, but I was put here to play drums and I don't want to play drums today. You know, for me, it feels right. And the way, like, when I went to Joe Bergamini to take drum lessons, it's because, like, hey, I want to take some drum lessons. And then went to John Riley, hey, I've been playing drums for a few years, like, will you accept me as a student? This is the stuff I like. And then I went to William Patterson in New Jersey for jazz studies. It was like, hey, I think I should go to school for music. I'm gonna try that. And did it, and put my head down and did it as hard as I could, you know. Studied for my exams, worked hard, did all that stuff. And then people started to call. Avishai, again, was the first, like, major thing. It's like, yeah, I want to go on tour. That's cool, yes. Yeah, I want to play on this record. And then it's, you know, I think maybe now I'm better at knowing what I want to do, but it's still kind of day by day, or even 10 years by 10 years, you know. It's like, yeah, this feels right. Yes, like.
So there wasn't that moment of, like, you know, I want to do what Tony did. He revolutionized something. I want to. You didn't say that. You didn't have this moment of saying.
Definitely not.
No. Finger on the map, kind of. You know that scene, like, here and like.
No. It's I feel
it's all a happy accident.
No.
You just sort of did what was in front of you, and it just kind of led to these things, and all of a sudden, hey, look what we're doing.
I think it was. I think again, getting back to the thing of being available, like, definitely some luck involved, but being prepared and being available.
Right.
So, like,
of course, always the prepared.
I think sometimes you need some luck to be in the right place at the right time, and then it's what do you do with that opportunity. So I think I'm big on, you know, like, I want to surround myself with good people, good music, and I'm not, you know, even if the music is great, or maybe it would look great on my resume, if I don't enjoy those people, I am completely at peace with not being a part of that situation.
Does money do anything?
Money's nice in the sense of it allows me to work on my own music. So if I could play, say I needed $100 a week or $700 a week, right, for math purposes. Mm-hmm. If I had 7 $100 gigs that were cool, I would have to do that to hit my goal for the week. But if you got that nicer money gig and you could play 2 gigs for $350 each, then I have 5 days out of that week to do exactly what I want to do. You know, so I see it as if I could play less and make the same amount of money, in my mind, I could see some open spaces in my calendar to devote to my own music.
Which goes back to my earlier question, would you also then put 8 months into something, make a whole ton of money, and then thinking down the road, yeah, but 8 months but then I can have 3 years, to...
Right now, I can't see that. It would have to be, the moment and the situation.
You don't want to travel that much, right?
I travel a lot.
Right, but you don't want to travel more?
I don't want to travel more, but also the really big chunks scare me a little. I mean, with Brad, we were in Europe for all of March, and it was an incredible month. It was musically, it was incredibly inspiring. I woke up every morning thinking, how can I put myself in the best situation to play my best tonight? And that's not always the case on the road. It's like, oh yeah, the gig's at 8, whatever, I'll figure it out closer to the gig. It's like every day was dedicated to creating the best music we could,
And how did you do that?
Well, it was just being clear, I think. Just
does that mean? I'm
eating well and not partying. And,
right. I was going to say, now you're going on tour and you have some beers or whatever it is, and you're saying in this instance, no beer, like monk style.
Yeah, Brad.
It's that discipline.
Yeah, and Brad's a really inspiring influence. The way he lives, he's extremely healthy, and
have you adopted that?
Yeah, it's case by case. I think in that month, I was really happy to lean to his habits of really disciplined living, And then with some guys, it's never, I'm really tame. I'm really super mellow anyway. Even if it is like, yeah, let's go get a beer after the show, which I love. That for me has always been more important than... Like, I'd rather hang with my brethren and just get more of like the decompression beer after a gig as opposed... Because the gig is the peak of the day. I've definitely been around some people where the gig's like, all right, get through the gig and now look for the highlight of the night. It's like, that's not my scene whatsoever. So for me, it's kind of more like after the gig, if we're going to hang at all, it'll be a reflection of the gig or just like the camaraderie of, kind of wind down and do that. So, yeah, I think, anyway, so that month, a month for me feels right. But again, in regards to a family, whenever I become a dad, I want to be a dad. I have my parents are great role models, and I want to, again, kind of that, I want to build, something strong, so I don't think, I'm sure there'll be some challenging decisions to make in regards to business and family and stuff, but, I can't worry about them yet, make them when they arrive and then go from there, so.
Yeah.
But also, again, I think that doesn't have to mean... I think now with technology of being able to make a video and post it that night and share some art and make a record and sell it on Bandcamp, all these things, I feel like, if I'm not on that 8-month tour, I could still, my creative output can still be very high, even if from home, always working on new things and sharing them,
By the way, you were mentioning before about using a space for teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have your own space, or
I don't?
You don't. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have a kit at home? Do you have?
I don't.
Nothing. Practice pad.
Practice pad. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Put the metronome on. I'm dead serious.
When
measure of eighth notes, one measure of triplets, one measure of sixteenths, one measure of triplets, loop,
repeat, rinse and repeat.
Singles. Slow. That is the most humbling practicing I can do, and it feels good to know it can get better, and even in that tiny glimpse of, wow, this is getting better. That's what keeps me going.
So you never set up the kit in the apartment?
I can't. It's a small studio apartment, and probably couldn't play in there. You can't make noise anyway. So
if you're off to do a local gig and it's just cymbals and snare, you have that at home, or?
Yeah, I have drum. I have a bass drum and I have.
Oh, you do? Okay.
In a case on top of a closet.
Okay. Okay.
But
they're ready to go if need be.
Yeah. But I'm too lazy to even bring my snare drum to a gig.
What do you have to have at the gig?
My cymbals.
That's it? Sticks and cymbals?
Mm-hmm.
Pedal, you don't care?
Nope.
Snare, you don't care?
I care. I do care. But sometimes, I get lazy.
You'll work with anything? You'll find it?
Definitely. That's inspiring to me, like playing different drums every night. I love that. Again, being in the moment. It's like, I think that's another thing that you can't fabricate working on until you've done it, until you're in those situations. Like, if you're always playing your own drums, you're going to develop a very specific comfort level to that really biodome-like environment, So I want to get to the club and have that coated snare head that you can see through, and find my sound on that instrument. I love that challenge.
It's the challenge, yeah, right. If this is the drum, you have to work with it. Go.
And really, I play such a minimal setup anyway. I just use a bass drum and a snare drum and a floor tom. That it really is mostly cymbal. It's cymbal heavy, and really kick snare. I have kind of little, easy ways to get the sounds I like. And I like dead sounds, so it's pretty easy to recreate that on different instruments.
When you go on tour, you're using backline in Europe, for example?
I only bring my cymbals.
Do you give them in the rider? Like, do you have?
Yeah, I give a very specific rider.
What size kick drum do you ask for?
Depends on the gig, but usually a 20-inch kick drum.
Mm-hmm. And if they don't have a 20, what would be your?
Depends on the gig. Sometimes, like with Brad, it was I'm playing a really low thuddy sound, so I said no 18. If it can't be a 20, a 22, no 18. But then maybe with Gretchen, if I had a 22, it would be really inappropriate. So it would be 20, if no 20, 18.
Do you care if it's 16 by 20, 14 by 20, 18 by?
16. The drums. So I'm with Gretsch drums, and I got drums from them recently.
What kind
Gratefully.
of drums?
I got the Brooklyn series.
You got the Brooklyn. Did you try out Brooklyn USA's and decide I'm going to Brooklyn?
I had casually, yes, casually. But that bass drum is 16 inches deep.
Yeah. But didn't they just come out with the 14 deep on the Brooklyn? Or was that like?
I don't know. I think so. You mean that's all they offer?
No, in other words, I thought maybe it's Steve Maxwell's or it's an exclusive or something where they make the Brooklyn now with the 14 depth.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. Initially they didn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I said, can I please have these sizes? And they very nicely said yes. So, yeah, and a 16-inch floor tom. I really care about the sound a lot. But to be totally honest, I'm not so on the money with the details of the instrument that's giving me that sound.
Bearing edges and all that.
I don't know what that means. I mean, I do, but I don't. I definitely don't. I love these drums, and they are giving me the sound that I want.
But you like the dead sound. You'll tape it up or moon gel it or whatever it takes.
Yep.
Doesn't it hit that point like of wait, what are we doing here? We've got great shells. You get the right head. Listen to him sing, but then you tape him up, and it's like, well, I don't know. We're just.
Yeah, sure, but I think that's just for me. I mean, again, I had a very, very practical conversation with them in the sense of like, I love this instrument. whenever I have the opportunity, I will be playing my drums. That is the minority of the time. And all I can do is always ask for them, always, and really wish for them. But the reality is I on the road will not always be playing those drums. And, I can only play what's there when I get there. So, and they're really at peace with, like, from both ends, we're going to do everything we can to make sure I'm playing those drums. And when we can't, we can. And that's why for me, I don't want to hold on to anything too tightly. I want to be able to, my sound, say this very humbly, very whatever, but my sound is from my mind and body. It's not from the instrument, So you show up and it's like, great, cool. Like, as long as the hi-hat stand tightens enough so it doesn't fall when I push the pedal down, I'm good. It's stuff like that. Will the bass drum not move when I hit it? I like this bass drum.
But don't you think a lot of it also is a New York thing? Like, you don't want to travel and lift all that shit into taxis, right?
Yeah, or you have 10 minutes to set up. There's a band at 9, you're playing at 10, and then there's a band at 11. You're all sharing the same drums. It's really...
and all the rooms here have backline.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, where doesn't have
exactly.
Backline? I mean, you never get to, that's a funny New York thing. The drummers never get to use their own kits.
Yep. But I think it's a great experience. And hopefully it is that reminder of, like, you are you because of you and not the instrument,
Right. The Indian, not the arrow.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I hear you.
How we
just
doing?
checking the time for you. 2:30.
Okay, yes, we should.
All right.
I got to meet my friend, an incredible bass player, Stu Brooks. I don't know if you know him. We're gonna go work on some music. He's in a band called Dub Trio.
That's what it. Yes.
And he played with
a
bunch of people. But.
Mr. Blade, right?
What's that?
Oh no, I'm thinking of Black Dub.
Black Dub, right.
That's something different.
Yeah, well, Mr. Blade. Dub Trio, the drummer's name is Joe Tamino, incredible drummer. But Stu has played with a bunch of people there. So we're working on, we have a little duo in the works, working on some stuff. So,
well, folks, Mark Guiliana, you know him. You can check him out on YouTube. Mark, I appreciate you doing this, man.
Thanks for everything.
Man.
It's fun.
I did that. What? Do it.